The next session will look at the urban development of the SDGs in Asia cities in cooperation with Fukuoka City. Mr. Shigeru Yoshimura from Fukuoka City International Department will lead you through the session.
afternoon. My name is Yoshimura Shigeru, and I am the Asian Pacific City Summit Secretariat of the Fukuoka City government. I will be a moderator for the Fukuoka session today. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your attendance. This Fukuoka session is arranged under the theme of SDGs and urban planning in the future. After an explanation of the purpose of this session from Fukuoka City, there will be presentations from our guest city and an international institution about urban challenge promoting SDGs. We shall start with Mr. Kubota's speech from Fukuoka City. Mr. Kubota, over to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kubota Kazuhiro, and I'm Executive Director of International Affairs at Fukuoka City Hall. Today, we are holding the Fukuoka session to introduce the role of cities. In other words, local government in achieving the SDGs. I'd like to thank Kyushu University for this opportunity. Today, there have been many great designs from high school and university students on improving society during with Corona and after Corona eras. The fact the young people have new ideas on how to improve society and some have already started their activities is very reassuring. To make your ideas reality, you need the support of many stakeholders, such as your school, businesses, and local communities. However, the truth is that local governments play a vital role too. Although it depends on the country, local governments have the authority, budget, and responsibility for urban development. They create necessary laws, prepare the budget, and can implement new designs. Therefore, to achieve the SDGs, it is vital that each and every city government understands the importance and intention of the SDGs to progress with initiatives. The Fukuoka City government is creating initiatives in the areas of health and welfare, education, infrastructure, the environment, and others to achieve the SDGs. But today, I'd like to introduce the Asian Pacific City Summit. The summit acts as a framework to solve problems through sharing new designs and ideas between many city governments. Just like ideas presented earlier. Starting in 1994, the Asian Pacific Summit is an international summit first advocated by Fukuoka City. Top-level city leaders from the Asian Pacific region come to the summit and exchange opinions to share each city's problems and solutions. So, if we think about it, the majority of problems that cities are trying to solve are exactly the same as those that SDGs are trying to solve. Many of the designs submitted for this award were to solve city-based problems, were they not? This goes to show how closely intertwined solutions to city problems are to solutions that achieve SDGs. Furthermore, as urbanization progresses more rapidly, more and more people will live in cities. Therefore, solving problems on a city scale lead to solving problems on a global scale, and we make achieving the SDGs a reality. The 12th Asian Pacific City Summit was held in Fukuoka City in 2018, and 32 cities from 16 countries attended. The theme of the fourth summit was the 11th SDG, Sustainable Cities and Communities. It was established that city initiatives are crucial to achieving the SDGs, and their roles and responsibilities are equally important. The 30th edition of the summit will be held once again in Fukuoka, and preparations are well underway. The next guests are Guangzhou, Chinese Friendship City of Fukuoka, and the World Bank, an organization that supports urban development around the world. both attended the 12th Asian Pacific City Summit. I'm looking forward to hearing the unique ideas from this city and organization. Thank you for listening, and I hand the floor to the next guest.
Thank you, Mr. Kubota. We will now move on to the presentation from our guest Steve, Guangzhou from China. Guangzhou is a friendship city of Fukuoka City and also a member of the Asian Pacific Summit. Welcome, Mr. Nicholas Yeo.
Thank you very much for this invitation and for this introduction. I am extremely pleased to be here with you today. As mentioned previously, Guangzhou and Fukuoka are sister cities. In fact, Fukuoka was the first sister city for Guangzhou, and I believe that dates back to 1979. My presentation today is on what the city of Guangzhou is trying to do together with its partners to accelerate the implementation of the SDGs at the local level. Guangzhou in 2012 established, together with United Cities and local government and Metropolis, the Guangzhou Award for Urban Innovation. This award is quite unique in that we are not only looking towards recognizing excellence in urban innovation, but the award is designed as a learning competition. So almost every single aspect of this award is designed in order to accelerate learning, accelerate the exchange of lessons learned from experience. And that is why the resources that the city of Guangzhou puts into this award are quite considerable. And we can see that the resources are not only used for the award or the prize, but are also used for organizing conferences, learning seminars, thought leadership, workshops, exhibitions, educational videos, etc. So here I will just briefly explain what the award is about and give you two examples from award-winning initiatives that I believe illustrate the localization of the SDGs and also what are some of the principles and lessons learned from them. First of all, what is urban innovation in the context of the current megatrends of urbanization, globalization, and climate change? We believe that urban innovation in this context is about new policies. It's also about harnessing new technologies, also about new business models, but very importantly, also how do we construct new forms of partnerships between public, private, community sectors, and how do we govern our cities in order to meet these challenges? The first example I would like to use is one from Surabaya, a city that has become quite renowned in recent years for what it is trying to do. Now, the city of Surabaya a few years ago was met with a very severe challenge. It had to close one of its two landfill sites. It was just simply overflowing. It was becoming a health hazard as well as an environmental hazard. So all of a sudden, the city was confronted with this almost unsurmountable challenge of what to do with its solid waste. The mayor, who did not have a very big budget for environmental remediation, nor did she get any money or support from the central government to begin with, decided to launch a campaign, a movement. And this movement was brought first and foremost to the people, to every single street, to every neighborhood, or as we call it in Indonesia, the kampungs, the urban villages, many of which are informal. And this,
Mr. Yeo,
the focus, yes.
Can you hear me? Would it be possible
Yes, I
for you
can.
to share your screen with us? Is that okay?
I have shared.
You have shared? Okay.
You don't see the PowerPoint?
No, unfortunately, we can see your face and we can hear you fine, but we can't see your PowerPoint at the moment.
Because my interface tells me that I am screen sharing now.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. We'll check our side. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. I can relaunch it if you want.
Would you be able to cancel sharing your screen temporarily then?
Would
Okay,
I be able
thank
to?
you.
Sorry.
Okay, now we can see it. Okay.
Now
That's
you can
great,
see
thank
it?
you.
Good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Sorry for that. So basically what the Lady Mayor of Surabaya did was to mobilize the entire community of Surabaya, all of the industries, the people, the compounds, the schools, you name it, and launched this very, very comprehensive effort to reduce, recycle, and reuse. And I think one of the outstanding objectives that she was able to achieve in a city that is growing quite rapidly, both economically and demographically, she succeeded in reducing not only the absolute amount of waste that is being generated in Surabaya, but also the per capita amount of waste being generated in Surabaya. So here on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the impact it has had on air quality and water quality. And obviously, both of those have a tremendous impact on health. An anecdotal thing that has happened in Surabaya, which I think people like to tell the story, is that if you bring 3 plastic bottles with you in Surabaya, the public transport is free. Now, if you think about this, if people start paying for public transport with empty plastic bottles, what happens is that your empty plastic bottles all end up in the bus depot. So the city needs to spend much less money collecting the plastic from hundreds of bins all over the city. But I think also she has been very, very astute in harnessing technology. And this goes from very low tech, as you can see, on urban farming, where every compound is now engaged in growing fresh vegetables as a means of recycling water and recycling waste, organic waste. But it's also using high tech, one of the highest tech that we have in the world today, which is using the black fly larva to convert organic waste directly into protein, which can be used for animal feed. So basically, in essence, what we have here is an initiative that is targeting several SDGs at the same time: sustainable cities and communities, of course, good health and well-being, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy generated through biogas and composting, and of course, the creation of new jobs in the recycling and the reuse sector. The second example I'd like to share with you today is also another award-winning practice, and this one is from Milan, the other side of the world. As you know, Milan is often cited as the fashion and industrial capital of Italy. Now, what Milan did shortly after Shanghai had hosted the World Expo, Milan also hosted the World Expo, and the theme of that expo was devoted to feeding the world. And the city of Milan was so enthusiastic about what it was learning when it hosted this expo that it decided to apply a lot of the best practices it witnessed during this expo to its own city policy. And this became Milan's food policy, perhaps one of the most comprehensive food policies of any city in the world today. And what basically they did was look at their entire food chain. Where is the food coming from? How is it transported? How is it packaged? How is it delivered? How is it brought to market? Who consumes it? How much of it is wasted, etc. So, but to give you an idea of how a city can effectively change things quite rapidly, when the city of Milan decided that all of its public institutions that provide meals, that means schools, universities, hospitals, even the prisons, would procure their food locally and organically. So basically that simple policy decision that all institutional meals be locally procured and be organic completely changed the relationship the city today has with its surrounding countryside. Within a very short period of time, not only the existing farmers, but new farms were created in the immediate surroundings of Milan in order to provide the fresh and organic food for the institutional meals. And this has changed completely the procurement system. But most importantly, I think the biggest takeaway from this initiative is that they realized they would have to change their governance system in order for this to work. So it meant collaboration across all the different departments of the city administration. It meant sharing the same database, the same information, having the same set of performance indicators from every single department, be that health, be it nutrition, be it education, industry, transport, etc. So basically, one of the biggest takeaways from this, and here we see the impact, right, of their food policy and this was just 3 years after they had adopted it, is that in many cases, in order to have an accelerated and sustainable impact on the localization of the SDGs, one has to look very carefully at how the city is governed, right? And here again, we see that this initiative touches upon 5 of the SDGs, and very importantly on the SDG 17 partnerships for the goals. And let me just conclude with this example by saying that Milan has since organized the Milan Pact Award. The Milan Pact is an accord between 180 some cities around the world. And what these cities do is every year they present another facet of their food policy in the form of a story so that cities can learn from each other. So here we are working very closely with Milan so that the 2 award systems can bring even more lessons learned to all the cities around the world. What are some concluding observations? I think that of course, these principles and these observations were derived from an analysis of hundreds of cases. I would just like to share these with you because I think they're important. One of the key principles that we see coming out of all of these examples is that in order to accelerate the implementation of the SDGs, we have to put people first. Right? It's people have to be at the center of what you're trying to do. And that ensures not only that you have real impact, but it also ensures co-ownership and buy-in. Another very important takeaway is that government needs to exercise leadership and be in the driver's seat, right? We've said it already for the Millennium Development Goals that nobody can do this alone, that we need to work across all the sectors, but the key actor remains government. Government has the principal responsibility of leading the process. Another very important one is pushing for the highest standards of quality. I think this we have seen over and over again, not just in the implementation of the SDGs, but in everyday life. Unless what we're doing has the mark of quality behind it, it is not going to be appreciated by people. It's not going to change people's attitude and behavior towards what we're trying to do. Engage in continuous learning. I think this is very, very important. In fact, the SDG process should be seen as a process of learning and of exchange. Right? No city alone can do this. No country alone can do this. We have to find the ways and means of doing this together. Finally, especially in the two cases I presented with Milan and Surabaya, what we're beginning to see is a systems approach to development, one that breaks down the silos between different departments, one that eliminates the competition between competing jurisdictions, autonomous authorities, etc. We begin really to use the same indicators of performance across different departments and jurisdictions. Finally, I think we need to engage people and recognize leadership at all levels. We have talked a lot about participation, participatory planning, etc. I have been in this business for over 40 years. And in many cases, when you talk about participation, we see the same people coming to town hall meetings, the usual suspects, and we're not really engaging people. But I think in both the Milan and the Surabaya cases, the leadership of the city, the mayor went out of their way in really to engage people where it matters. That meant engaging people by giving them a true stake in the process, where they can see the difference in their lives, they can see the difference in their livelihood, and they can see that the city is making a difference. Imagine in your city if all of a sudden all the parents learn that their children are getting very healthy and organic food at least once a day in the school lunches. That makes a tremendous difference. So I'd like to conclude here just by saying that we are in the process of having received several hundred new initiatives by the end of October. These will be assessed in the course of December, and we will be able to share a new set of initiatives with the world on the localizing the SDGs. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yo. The Ganjo Award is very meaningful. Cities can gather, share, and improve their projects in SDGs. I hope that the innovative project will be started more and more in this movement. Next, we'll move on to the presentation from an international institution. The World Bank is an affiliate of the City Partnership Program with Fukuoka City and cooperates with urban planning. Welcome, Project Manager, Mr. Victor Muras from the Tokyo Development Learning Center, World Bank.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having me in this event. I'm very pleased to be here with you and share this presentation. My name is Victor Mulas. I'm the program manager of the Tokyo Development Learning Center, which is a partnership program between the World Bank and the government of Japan. And it focuses on the urban area and on cities. And for that reason, I'm gonna focus this presentation on the urban challenges. So let's start a little bit with background. We are going into a world of cities. We are having a trend of urbanization. You can see today, more than 4 billion people live in cities. That's over half of the world population. And it's expected to grow by 2.5 billion people by 2050. So we are going into more cities, not less. And there is many reasons for that. The first one is there is very good opportunities in urbanization. 80% of the global economic activity happens in cities. And the reason is because of agglomeration effects. You have better access to schools, healthcare institutions, social infrastructure. You can actually find more business opportunities too, because you are connecting with more people and other employment opportunities. So those are the positive ones. However, urbanization also has negative effects, right? That we need to know about it. We have almost 1 billion people living in slums today. There are spatial inequalities that lead to crime and violence. Waste is expected to increase by 70% by 2050. And 1.5 billion people are exposed to cyclones and earthquakes in large cities by 2050. That's the expectation we have. So we need to look at all those opportunities and all these risks. And we do it from the international institutions through the framework of the SDGs, the theme of this, this conference, this event. And as you know, the SDGs are basically composed of 17 goals, but they have over 169 targets and 232 indicators. And that's a lot of things, right? So we're gonna, we go in to focus on the areas that our program TDLC works on. And because it's related to urban, we primarily look at the SDG number 9, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. We look at how cities can be more competitive, how they can develop more economic opportunities for development in the different cities we work on around the world. SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, for obvious reasons, and SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, and that links to the presentation of my previous speaker in terms of how do we become more sustainable, and we do it in cities. It's very interesting, everything that is happening in terms of sustainability and how we are going into making the cities be more responsible in all these goals. So how the World Bank acts in this framework. So the World Bank is one of the international finance institutions. It's part of the UN umbrella, the United Nations, but we are primarily an institution that works for developing countries. And we are a bank as the name indicates, the World Bank. It's a bank for that operates in the whole world, but it's a development bank. And what does it mean? It means that we provide loans and financial products and services to support countries around the world, developing countries, to develop projects that will make them reach a better outcome in development. And this is in many areas. We have a very large portfolio, the largest one in the development banks in the world, around 23.2 billion of loans that are active. We have around 528 new projects. And we have commitments with the least developed countries, that is what IDA commitments mean, of almost 21.9 billion for almost 1,000 new projects. That's a lot of activity that we are doing. And this covers all the areas of development in developing countries. Japan is not a developing country, so that only applies to the countries that are not high income as Japan. But one of the areas is the urban area. So we have two instruments to do that. One is investment project financing, and that's basically how do we support a specific project in a country. So think, for instance, a city that wants to develop a circular economy or wants to develop a solid waste management process. Then we can provide a loan to support that project and help in developing that project. Or we also provide development policy finance, which is basically we provide financing to the governments to set a new policy. So for instance, if you want to do a carbon zero emissions policy, but you need to finance how to get there, we will provide the credit line. The other area we're working on is on knowledge sharing. We are a financial bank, but also we are a knowledge bank. And a knowledge bank, because we operate all around the world, we can share the knowledge of all the operations where we are present around the world, but also with our partnered countries. And Japan is one of them, as you can see with the Tokyo Development Lending Center being a partnership between the government of Japan and the World Bank. So what we do here is to collect knowledge, for instance, from Japan, and collect knowledge that is actionable to support other countries and other cities. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the Tokyo Development Learning Center. As I said before, we are a knowledge program. We are the part of knowledge sharing activities of the World Bank. And we primarily work on distilling and first understanding and then codifying Japanese best practices knowledge and emerging practices knowledge related to the urban area. And that encompasses from our partner cities, but also from private sector and public sector expertise. And we provide that to our client countries, developing countries around the world that are developing development projects. I'm going to go through all the components that we do at TDLC in a little bit. But you can see we have different ways of sharing that knowledge. But the most important thing for us is that we have key partners to identify that knowledge and then share that knowledge. And there are 5 cities in Japan that are our key partners. We have a program called the City Partnership Program. And we collaborate with those cities to understand the emerging practices, but also the best practices that can be applied to developing countries. One of those cities that is Fukuoka. We work with us, and we are very, very happy to partner with Fukuoka, and I'm very happy to have partnered for a while with Fukuoka. And in this partnership, not only we find the knowledge and share the knowledge with our client countries when they come to Japan, the Fukuoka experts also go to client countries to work with developing countries in the field. So why those cities? Well, we chose those cities, as in the case of Fukuoka, because they have done very well and they have very good policies to share. They have learned on their way, and they have not always been as developed and nice as they are right now. They have a history where they have to tackle challenges like developing countries, and they did very well. So you can see in the 1970s, what was the traffic in Fukuoka in the black and white pictures. There was a lot of traffic jams. It was more congested. It was more difficult to navigate, and there was more pollution. Today, that's not the case. And that is because the city worked very hard to rationalize and work with the urban policies and the transport-oriented development policies to create something that is more sustainable and is more livable, but it works better for its citizens. And these are the kind of practices then we share with our client countries, and we are proud to do it together with cities like Fukuoka. I'm gonna go very briefly, but those are the kind of activities that we do. We develop, first and foremost, we do in Japan what we call technical deep dives. There are a week-long knowledge acceleration program where we identify specific topics. It can be transport-oriented development, it can be disaster risk management, it can be solid waste management, anything related to cities, where we have interest from different client countries across the world to apply to solve problems in those areas. And then we develop a one-week program to learn about the best practices in Japan to tackle those problems. And we do that over the year. We usually do 7 to 10, and we collaborate very closely with our CPP cities because we do them with a partner city every time. And with Fukuoka, we do several topics, but one of them that we were going to do last year, which unfortunately got canceled because of COVID-19, was on transport-oriented development. And we are keen to be able to do it this year, even though it will be virtual. So that's one of the areas. Following that, we do what we call operational support, which is after these cities come to Japan or come to Fukuoka and they're interested in the policies they see, they want after that to implement in their countries, and they need help to do that. And then is when we dispatch experts with our partnerships. And then we also codify insights and publications. This knowledge that we have identified, we codify it into publications, and we develop these publications together so it can be shared beyond that specific operational support or that specific technical deep dive. So these are basically an overview of our program, a little bit of what the World Bank does and how it helps developing countries together with Japanese expertise and particularly with Fukuoka. But I wanted to just finish this presentation with some thoughts for you as young students, right? All these things are what we are doing right now, but we have many challenges that are coming in cities and in development, and we need new thinking and new commitment to solve those challenges. So please help us to create new solutions, to think about them, and come to us when you develop yourself professionally to work in our institutions and support us, bring these new ideas to solve the problems of the world and contribute to the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buras. When local governments try to promote SDGs, it is very important that they are able to get support from international organizations like the World Bank. I hope that desirable programs such as the City Partnership Program will spread around the world. And we, Fukuoka City, will continue to share our techniques and experience with other cities through this program. Today, we held this session under the theme of SDGs and urban planning in the future. Please remember that the city solutions are connected to the SDG solution. And also please pay attention to your city, how they think about their future and what they do for SDGs. This is the end of this session. Thank you for your participation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Yoshimura, and all the guest speakers.